All right, everybody. We are jumping into the interactive Bible study. Remember, it's interactive. If you have questions, raise your hand and ask them. We're going to be in Genesis 45. This is me asking you a question. Genesis 45?
Yes.
Yes, Genesis 45. So if you have your Bibles, follow along. If you're on the stream, follow along. If you're on the stream and you have a question, type it in the chat, and we'll raise our hand in the back and get his attention so he can answer it. Remember to subscribe, like the video, hit the notification bell, choose all notifications, because apparently notifications don't really mean anything to YouTube unless you click that. So that way you'll know when we put up some videos. All right, you ready to go? All right, let's go.
Okay, I have been given word that those who were watching by internet in the first service this morning were unable to hear me when I spoke. So when I went to the pulpit and did my parts, you couldn't hear anything. And then I was told that Peter wasn't coming through either. So now here's what I want you to do. If you have joined this Bible study by internet and you are unable to hear me clearly, you are to type in immediately, "I cannot hear Dr. J." Okay? Because the last thing I want to do is talk for an hour when no one can hear me. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of, Doc. I want to make sure that that's all clear. Now, the other thing I was going to do for you, because this has been amazing me through the whole service. Okay, the flower arrangement that is before the pulpit today and the one that is behind me are identical. Okay, they're what the florists call matching baskets. Okay, however, if you look at them, this one looks at least 4 times bigger than that one. Okay, it messed me up so much yesterday that I actually exchanged them, thinking that somehow, even though they looked the same when they were close together, that when what I discovered is the same thing happens. You bring that one up here, it's going to grow 4 times larger than this one when it goes back there. Now the question is, how does that happen? It is a matter of perspective. Okay? Were I to put them side by side, they'd look exactly the same to you. When I separate them by distance, perspective changes and that one looks smaller. Am I right? You're seeing it, right? Those of you in the room, look smaller. Okay, now I want to make this really clear to you. We need to keep our perspective focused on the word of the Lord. Okay? There's all kinds of nasty stuff going on around us in the world today. This is my Savior bringing me my cup of coffee. Thank you, madam. Okay? They told me there wasn't time for me to go get it. But I need it. Now, are you with me? You understand what I'm saying? Okay? All kinds of things are happening out there. Okay? We are seeing a rampage of evil. Now, I'm going to tell you what my perspective on that is. I'm going to put it right up front in a few words. Okay? A couple months ago, we took a significant step. We closed the churches across this land. And Satan went, woo! And he's been tromping. Okay? And before I do anything else in the Bible study today, I want to say to you, we need our churches so that things stay in perspective. And our focus is always on the word of the Lord. You hearing me? All right. Now, I'm going to speak to my fellow, I'm sitting on my wire here. Give me a minute. Okay, I'm going to speak to my fellow clergy. Okay, this is no time for wimps. I heard a story this morning on Fox News that absolutely thrilled my soul, made me cry. Is it Alverna? What's her last name? She is the niece of Martin Luther King Jr. was speaking. She's talking about the day when she is a child, during all that nasty stuff that went on back in the time through which some of us lived. Okay? When her home, because her father was a pastor, her home had been firebombed, and burned to the ground. Okay? I'm going to cry again. Her father got everybody out of the house safe. And he got up on the top of his car and he said to the people who had just bombed his house, okay, enough. It's time for peace. Go home. He said to them, I know you're angry. If you want to hit somebody, hit me. But stop this. Now, it is time for the religious leaders of our country to do that in the spirit of that man. It is time for us to stand up in the face of those people who are rioting, who are doing, in front of all of this, and say, stop it. She said, people say, the lady whose house burned watched her, she said she'll never forget seeing her father stand on that car. God bless him. That's what we should all be doing, particularly the clergy. Okay? We should be saying, no, stop it. Got to hit somebody, hit me. I mean, after all, they nailed Jesus to the cross, and we're supposed to follow his example, right? Yeah. You got it? Okay? Imagine the impression that made on a child, seeing her daddy do that. And God bless her daddy. And she said, people say there can be no justice without peace. She says it goes the other way. Peace and justice go hand in hand. They work together. You want justice, there must be peace. Okay? All right? You with me today? Now, we're in Genesis. We're at chapter 45. We're at verse 16. The brothers are there, all of them together. Joseph has told his brothers who he is. They've all embraced, they've wept, they've forgiven the stuff of the past as much as they can forgive the stuff of the staff. They're getting over it. All right? All of it's happening. And then it says, verse 16, when the news that they had been reconciled reached Pharaoh's palace, that Joseph's brothers had come, Pharaoh and his officials were pleased. Pharaoh said to Joseph, tell your brothers, do this. Load your animals and return to the land of Canaan, and bring your father and your families back to me, and I will bless you. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you can enjoy the fat of the land. Now, what Pharaoh says is, look, owe a lot to Joseph. Come on back and live here. I, Pharaoh, all-powerful Pharaoh, will take care of you forever. Now, I just want to say this, okay? When the government says, I will take care of you forever, stop. Stop. Okay? It should not be a comfortable moment in your life. All right? The Lord will take care of you forever, not the government. Now, it says, verse 19, you are also directed to tell them, do this, take some carts from Egypt for your children and your wives, and get your father and come. Never mind about your belongings, because the best of all Egypt will be yours. I just need to say it again. When the government says, I'll take care of everything you need, take a deep breath. It's not good news. Now, I don't want to tell you anything about this, but you're getting checks in the mail. Some of you may be getting debit cards in the mail from the government saying, you don't have to worry, we're going to take care of you. We're going to take care of you. Thank you. Yes, that's the appropriate response to a gift always. Thank you. Take a deep breath, folks. Take a deep breath. You with me? You hearing me? Mm-hmm. Okay? It's not necessarily what you think. It says, it hit me. See, Peter mentioned his cousin, okay, who is apparently on Facebook, Peter? Yeah. Encouraging people to riot. Now listen to me. Okay? I knew her when she was growing up. Okay? She lived in a mansion in Toledo, Ohio. Yeah, she lived in a mansion in Toledo, Ohio. Okay? They moved there so she could go to the best public schools in the state of Ohio. Okay? I went to the school for a football game once. Okay? I said this at dinner last night and it got a laugh. I hope it will get a laugh today. The only black people who were at that school's football game was this kid they called Big Mike, who was the center on the football team. Okay? All right, look, she grew up in the lap of luxury. Okay? And now she's telling people to riot. Okay? She needs to be, I hope she's listening to me, she's probably not, but she needs to be quiet. Okay? When you are encouraging people to do something which is illegal and which hurts other innocent people for any reason whatsoever, you can be 100% sure that you are wrong. Okay? And somebody ought to go visit her today and lock her up for inciting a riot. Because that's what she's doing. Okay? It's wrong. All right? Don't get comfortable with the government taking care of you. When Pharaoh provides the carts for you to go get your family and tells you leave all your belongings behind. Okay? Verse 21. So the sons of Israel did as Joseph did this. Joseph gave them carts as Pharaoh had commanded, and he also gave them provisions for the journey. To each of them he gave new clothing, but to Benjamin he gave 300 shekels of silver and 5 sets of clothing. And this is what he said to his father, what he sent to his father. 10 donkeys loaded with the best things of Egypt, 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and other provisions for his journey. Then he sent his brothers, saying, away, and as they went, and as they were leaving, he said to them, don't quarrel on the way. Okay, all right? Now, don't fight, all right? Just for the record, brothers fight. All right? Don't quarrel. He says, so they went up out of Egypt and came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. They told him, Joseph is still alive. In fact, he is the ruler of all Egypt. Jacob was stunned. He did not believe them. But when they told him everything Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts Joseph had sent to carry him back, the spirit of their father Jacob revived. And Israel said, Israel is, by the way, Jacob, remember, I am convinced my son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die. So Jacob decides to respond to the invitation that has come from his son Joseph and Pharaoh. He is now going to Egypt in style, okay, to greet his son Joseph, who is the second most powerful man in the nation at the time. All right? Got it? That's where we are. Chapter 46. So Israel, Jacob, set out with all that was his. He ain't a dummy. Okay? He's taken his stuff with him. Pharaoh said, you need to bring anything. I'll take care of everything when you get here. Jacob says, okay? He doesn't go without his checkbook. All right? And when he reached Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. Now, The one thing that Jacob is not deserting is God. All right? So even there is this suspicion that gods are territorial back then. Okay, so a particular god inhabits a particular place, and that territory belongs to that god. And if you leave that territory, you have to change your god because you've moved from the territory of one god into the territory of another god, and the old god that you used to serve in that other place is not effective in the new place where you are going. Okay? All right? So you got to, if you're in Rome, you got to do as the Romans do. Okay? So you want to switch your God so that your prayers are effective to the God of the place. Okay? Joseph didn't do that. Jacob's not doing that. Okay? He's still praying to Yahweh, God Almighty, the God of his fathers. Okay? When you are tempted to give up your faith in the light of circumstances, pause, think. Okay? The words of the song that we sang earlier, he never failed me yet and he won't start now. That's all right there. Man. That's what's important about knowing our God. He is not territorial. Okay? They used to, if you were back in the biblical days, if you were traveling from one place to another and you were serving a particular god and you were just going temporarily, they used to take boxes of dirt from the place where they lived so they could kneel down on that territory, that dirt, and pray to the God that they were going to return to while they were away. You don't got to take no box of dirt with you anywhere you go, folks. Okay? Through the Holy Spirit, God goes with you. God is always there. He doesn't forsake you. He won't fail you. Okay? So as Jacob's going, he's praying to the God of his father Isaac. And it says that God spoke to Israel in a vision at night and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, yeah. Okay. Now it says, he said, here I am, he replied. It's always fun when the Bible does that and you recognize the name of he just said, here, Yahweh, because Yahweh means I am. Okay? So did he say, here I am, Yahweh? Or did he say, here I am? Okay, getting it? All right. When he responds, he is acknowledging the God to whom he's speaking. I think he's saying, I'm here, Yahweh. This is me. I'm right here. What do you want? Okay, now I want you to know that when God speaks to you, the obligation is to listen. Okay, not to begin talking. Talking is not listening. And when God speaks first, what he anticipates of you is silence. All right, so he speaks to him. And he says, I am, there it is again. I am God, the God of your father, he said. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. I will go down to Egypt with you, and I will surely bring you back again, and Joseph's own hand will close your eyes. So what he says to him is, it's okay if you go, dude. Okay? Because I'm going to go too. And I'll watch over you in that foreign place. And the fact is that when you die there, okay, Joseph's hand will close your eyes. Okay? That's the promise he's made. He is reassuring Jacob that it is okay for Jacob to go to this strange place, that he's not going to desert Jacob according to the customs of the time when he goes there, that it's all going to be fine. Okay? You with me? Then it says, then Jacob left Beersheba, and Israel's sons took their father Jacob to their children and their wives in the carts that Pharaoh had sent to transport them, which I imagine were kind of nice limousine carts. They also took with them their livestock and the possessions they had acquired in Canaan, and Jacob and all his offspring went to Egypt. Now, again, I just want to point out to you, Jacob doesn't leave his stuff behind. He takes it with him. Okay, Diane, is your hand up, or are you just pointing to the sky?
Wouldn't that then make Pharaoh feel like they weren't listening to him?
Because they brought their stuff? It doesn't tell us that. She said, the question was, wouldn't Pharaoh feel that they were not listening to him, following his instructions, because they didn't do what he told them to do? They brought their stuff too. Okay? See, if I was Pharaoh, I can only answer from my perspective. I'd be going, yeah, well, okay, they won't need it, but oh well, who cares? Okay? All right? And it says, I did that. 7. He took with him to Egypt his sons and grandsons and his daughters and granddaughters and all his offspring. The whole family moves together from Canaan to Egypt. Okay, at Pharaoh and Joseph's invitation. And then there is a list of the persons who went with him, okay, which I'm not going to bother reading. We're going to drop down to verse 26 in chapter 46. 46:26. It says, all those who went to Egypt with Jacob, those who were his direct descendants, not counting his sons' wives, numbered 66 persons. With the 2 sons who had been born to Joseph in Egypt, the members of Jacob's family, which went to Egypt, were 70 in all. Okay, so it's basically 70 people who go to Egypt with Jacob. Okay? All right? Then it says, I think I heard somebody say that's a lot. In my family, that's not really all that many. Okay? My grandfather was one of 10 children, and my grandfather had 10 children. Okay? It was nothing for my grandmother. She converted her basement into a big dining room. It would be nothing for her to have a table where there were 90 people who had come for dinner on a holiday. Okay? So I'm used to big family gatherings. Okay? All right? I was thinking, and when I was thinking about this, maybe it was related to this text rather than I was daydreaming and not paying close enough attention to the preacher. Nah, that couldn't be. Okay, I was remembering as a child the big family gatherings that my family would have at my grandmother's home then, which was called Buttonwood. This was when I was a little boy. And it would just be overflowing with people, okay? In a sense, I think those feelings, I've thought about these things a lot in the last little bit of time because I think of the quarantine thing and the fact that we are isolated from each other. I think of the church at Cornerstone as my family, and I'm used to that big crowd of people, and there's something comforting in being with all of your brothers and sisters and your cousins and all of that jazz. Okay, and I miss it. I really do miss it. Maybe it's just because I'm old. I don't know. But that's what happened. So 70 people arriving is not like a huge thing. My grandmother could have handled it. Okay? I might have had to help her kill all the chickens, but she would have handled it. Okay, now, verse 28. It says, now, Jacob sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to get directions to Goshen. When they arrived in the region of Goshen is, by the way, the prime real estate in Egypt. Okay, so Pharaoh is being true to his word. He said he would take care of their need. He is, in essence, settling them in the best area of Egypt. Okay, the only dilemma here is that if you already own a piece of Goshen, and Pharaoh says, hey, I've got a bunch of Hebrews that need a place, you're out, they're in. I'm not exactly sure that it is going to encourage good Hebrew-Egyptian relationships. Okay, I think there might be an implied resentment. Okay, and you can't get angry at Pharaoh, because you get angry at Pharaoh, he has a solution, he cuts off your head. Okay, but those Hebrews, man, I mean, who do they think they are? Moving right in to the best real estate. Goshen. Okay, but that's what happened. So they asked directions. And it says, Joseph had his chariot made ready and went to Goshen to meet his father Israel. As soon as Joseph appeared before him, he threw his arms around his father and wept for a long time. Israel said to Joseph, now I am ready to die, and wept. He didn't hear that. He wept for a long time. His father says, now I'm ready to die, and wept. Come on. Okay. Put the sign up, Peter, that says laughter. They didn't get it. Okay. All right. My family all says I shouldn't tell jokes because nobody knows of jokes. All right. He's pleased because he's seen Joseph again. He's ready to die. It says, then Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, I will go up and speak to Pharaoh and will say to him, my brothers and my father's household who were living in the land of Canaan have come to me. The men are sheep herders, they tend livestock, and they have brought along their flocks and herds and everything they own. When Pharaoh calls you in and asks, what is your occupation? You should answer, your servants have tended livestock from our boyhood on, just as our fathers did. Then you will be allowed to settle in the region of Goshen, for all shepherds are detestable to the Egyptians. Now, see, the issue is Egyptians have predetermined notions about the value of certain persons based on their particular occupations. Okay? We're like going back to the beginning of the conversation here. Okay? So like, you know the guy who comes to collect your garbage? You know, the stinky man who rides in a garbage truck all day? Okay? If he were to show up in church today, okay, even all cleaned up and dressed, he shows up in church, you're not supposed to treat him as if he was the guy who was riding on the garbage truck. Okay, got it? You're not supposed to have a predetermined notion about the value of somebody related to the thing they do. I give you a prime example that you can help me because I want you to pray for this kid. The last couple of weeks, it happened several times before. The last couple of weeks when we have come here to do our preparation for Sunday morning services, there is this boy, okay? I don't know his name yet, okay? He's just a kid. And he walks all the way up Kylie's Road, and periodically he stops and sits down on the curb. And he sits there on the curb playing with his phone, okay, and smoking. Okay, he smokes a little cigar thing with a filter on it. Okay, and then he walks up a little further and he sits down. He ends up always sitting right outside that door, smoking, playing with his phone. Okay, now he intrigues me. Okay, number one, I immediately distrust him. He is a kid. I don't know him. He has no reason to be here, and he's smoking. What's he doing here? In me, the first thing I want to do is protect the place. And say, you don't belong here, buddy, get lost. Okay? All right? In addition to that, he has this long Prince Albert flop of hair, which he is constantly throwing out of his face with his hands. I want to help him desperately with a pair of scissors. No more hair problem, boy. Okay? Now, last night, practice was delayed, okay, for reasons you don't need to worry about. Practice was delayed, so I'm walking around and there's this kid, okay, and I initially was following him to see what he was up to. Then all of a sudden I realized, you know what, that boy is lonely. Okay? I mean, all he's got to talk to is that stupid thing that he's playing with. Okay? he came up here to smoke because if he smoked down there, wherever down there is, his parents would be all over his case. Okay. I happen to know the answer to that because I engaged, the question was, how old is he? I engaged him in conversation after the Lord dealt with me for a long time. Okay. I discovered that he is 18, that he just graduated from Coatesville High School. Okay. He has no intention of going to college, and he has no prospects for a job. Okay, all right, he's just wandering around. Okay, you know what he needs? He needs a church family, folks. Okay, and guess who God is pointing in that direction? Okay, now when he shows up, he ain't gonna, if he shows up, when he shows up, he ain't going to fit. He ain't going to fit. Okay? He's not going to have a clue what church people do. Okay? And we're going to social distance. Not yet did I invite him. Not yet. I overcame my prejudice and I talked to the dude. Yeah, okay. He wasn't ready to be invited. Okay, I can tell you right now, he was like, who's this old guy that's bothering me? Okay, and what's he want? He's going to yell at me and tell me to stop smoking and kick me off the property. Okay, we talked for a minute and finally he says, I better go home now. I think dinner's ready. And I said, do they feed you? Which is supposed to be a joke. He did like you do. He looked at me with this strange look and said, yeah. So I let him go. Okay, all right. Okay, we're not there yet. Okay? All right. Now I did say to him, he's gone, I'll be looking for you next Saturday night. I'll be here about the same time. Now we'll see. Maybe the old guy will have scared him off. Okay. All right. Now look. This is the problem that the Hebrews are confronting in the verses I just read to you. They get there and Joseph says, whatever you do, don't call yourself shepherds because they don't like shepherds. Say that you are the tender of animals. Okay? Give them an acceptable euphemistic response that will not cause them to think you smell like sheep. All right? Okay? Are you with me? Understanding? All right? And if you don't offend them, okay, if you play ball with Pharaoh and you tell him you're a keeper of sheep, or keeper of animals rather than a shepherd, then don't tell him you're a garbage man. Then you'll maybe do better off here. Okay, now there's a problem in this. This whole thing is beginning already to fall apart and to deteriorate. Pharaoh's saying, hey, come on over, I'll take care of everything you need, as long as you don't offend me. And Joseph is saying, whatever you do, don't offend him. He'll take care of you if you don't offend him. Okay? Play ball here. Okay, get along. It'll be worth your while in the end. But whatever you do, don't offend anybody yet. All right? All I'm saying to you is look, everything, God's with them. God's moving with them. God's saying do it. But there's all kinds of stuff that's beginning to rumble. There's thunder in the distance. You can begin to hear the storm brewing. There's going to be 400 years of slavery here, folks. And it all begins at the beginning. Okay, you want to know what my personal opinion is? My personal opinion is Jacob would have been better off to stay home. Okay? Okay? It would have been better if Joseph came for a visit. Okay? And Jacob and his family remained independent of this, but they are moving in the direction which seems to have on it the blessing of the Lord. But sometimes the blessings which come in our way come from sources like for instance, if you got a television and you didn't pay for it in Minneapolis last night, okay, it probably wasn't the blessing of the Lord on your life. In fact, it's going to go in another direction. Okay, now we're going to move into the chapter I told you to read last week, telling you to read it again this week. We're going to read into that chapter next time, because we're going to see how it really falls apart. Bible study is done. Those of you who attended worship first time are welcome to stay again. Those of you who came for the second time, I'm glad you're here. But we are now prepared to move into the second worship service.